Hey everybody, this is going to be Video Editing 101, Extreme Basics of Adobe Premiere Pro. Premiere Pro is part of the Creative Cloud, part of the Adobe Suite. It's an industry widely accepted software in the video editing industry. We use it to do most of the heavy lifting for our video projects, and it's a great software to learn video editing. In order to start, we're going to go File, New Project, and create a new project. This one is going to be named Von Stein Wheat Harvest. Von Stein Harvest. And this is going to be created from some footage I took at my in-laws farm a couple years ago. So I just want to save the project inside of a folder. It's going to make us choose where to save this project. I like to save it in the general folder for the project that I'm working on, which in this case is actually on my desktop since this is a sample. You'll see that I have photos and videos in here from this project as well. So this opens up Premiere Pro, and now we have several windows that you'll need to be familiar with. The first is the source window, the program window in the upper right, the timeline in the bottom right, and the project window in the bottom left. In order to get started, we'll need to bring in some files. So we'll go to File, Import, and we're going to select these video files. I'll bring in all that video footage, and you'll see it now in our project window. We have all these files here. In order to keep your projects organized, you can use bins. I could have imported this whole folder and that would have created a bin here, but I wanted to demonstrate that we can create bins to organize our projects. I call it raw video. That's what we use to describe our video footage that is not edited in any way. That's just our footage right off the camera. So now we've created this bin. For example, if we had to create more bins, we might have a bin for graphics. We might have a bin for soundtrack, and so on. So just like the file structure on your computer, bins help you stay organized within the project. It does not change the file structure of the drive itself. Some of you who may be familiar with Lightroom, Lightroom can actually let you move files on the disk inside of the Lightroom program. That does not happen in Premiere. Premiere only references files, locations on the disk where you're working. So if we want to check out some footage, we simply open up the bin and double click the file, and brings the footage up into the source window. One other note on organization. Typically, if we were working on a real project here, all of these files would be named with a shot number, a scene number, and a human readable name. So for example, this might be shot 1, scene 1, take 1, fuzzy wheat, because it's kind of a fuzzy picture of some wheat, and we're obviously going to pull focus here across the wheat field. So as we go back up, we can scrub the footage as I just did by dragging this little marker along. We can also just simply play the footage by using the play button in the source window, and we can scrub using our magic mouse. If you're an Apple user, you probably have a magic mouse. You can just slide your finger along the surface of the mouse left and right, and that will scrub the footage for you. The next thing that you're going to want to do is to create a sequence. If we want to edit things into a timeline, we need to first create a sequence. So we would go File, New Sequence, or Open Apple N. When you create a new sequence, you want to match the sequence preset to the file, the footage that comes off your camera. So in this case, I'm going to select 1080p 24 frames per second. I have the option to name the sequence here, so I'm going to name it Wheat Harvest. and hit enter for OK. And now you see that in our timeline window we actually have the sequence itself. We see the sequence over here in the project as well, so we can have multiple sequences in a project because you may want to create several different cuts from the same footage. So you can have multiple sequences within a project. We're just going to work with this one here today. So in order to get footage on the timeline, I'm just going to seek out a cool clip here. Looks like a couple combines coming. So as I scrub this footage, you'll hear the audio. I'm going to set an in point there and an out point here. And so you can set an in point by hitting I on the keyboard. So I simply scrub this footage to a place where I think things look good. Let's go see what's down here. Got a tractor. So the end of that is not very good. So let's go back to the beginning. We're going to hit I on the keyboard or the mark in button here, and then we're going to scrub the footage forward, and that looks okay. So we're going to hit O on the keyboard to set an out point, or click mark out point here. And so now only this section of video will go to the timeline. If we change it over here, I for in, O for out, only this section of video will go to the timeline, and all of this will be forgotten. So again, let's select a pretty decent clip. It's somewhere in there and somewhere in here. I for in, O for out. And now we drag the clip to the timeline. Just simply click up here on the video footage itself and drag it into the timeline. In this case, I've got 2 instances now. If you only want to drag the video and not the audio, you can use this button, drag video only. If you only want to drag the audio and skip the video, you can drag audio only. So now we've got this clip into our timeline, and whatever is in the timeline, wherever the playhead is on the timeline here, this is the playhead, wherever that is what you'll see in the program window on the right. So I'm just going to select these clips by dragging over the top of all of them and get rid of them. We're going to go back here and find another couple good clips. This is kind of a cool clip. So I scrub to the point where I want to bring it in. Scrub to the point where I don't like it anymore, which is about when that combine's getting ready to go off the screen. I only want the video, don't really care about the audio in this case, and so I drag that to the timeline. Let's get one more clip. This is kind of a pan past a wheat field, or probably a slider move it looks like. So I like it here. I for in, scrub forward, O for out, and drag only the video footage down into my timeline. So now we can play this back, and so we can play back the timeline in the program window by hitting the play button or hitting the space bar, and now we can watch what we've made. So what might be a nicer order for these clips is something a little different. So I want this clip to be first, and then I want the crane, and then I want the combine kind of coming at me. So now if we play this back, I'm going to just drag the clips back to the beginning of the timeline, play it back, and now we've got a little wheat field sequence. If we want to make other adjustments in the timeline, for example, if we think the first clip is too long, we can expand our timeline here so that we can make a little finer adjustments. and then we can simply drag this clip back, and we can drag this clip over, and say we think that's too long, we can drag it in. We'll bring this one over as well, and same thing, we can shorten this up, we can lengthen it out, and we can manipulate the footage here in the timeline itself. You also have other editing options available. This is the razor tool. This one's used pretty commonly. So let's say that I want to cut out a portion of this video. I can simply click the razor tool, go back to the selection tool, and hit delete. I'm going to use Open Apple Z to undo that. Place this at the beginning of the timeline. Place the playhead at the beginning of the timeline. Hit spacebar to play it back, and we have a nice little 10-second video. So other things that you should know are there are multiple layers, I'll call them, of video tracks that you can use. So if you want to place a graphic over top of this video, if you want to put someone's logo on the screen or someone's name, you can simply place that file on a layer above it, and it will, whatever is on top will play over top of whatever is on bottom. So for example, if you move video footage over top of other video footage, only the top file plays. So you can create transparent graphics in Photoshop, bring those in here and lay them right over top of your video footage. Other thing to know, there are also multiple layers of audio file to allow you to mix the audio for your track into this video. In this case, this is pretty ugly audio, and we're going to use this video footage only, so I'm not worried about the audio. But if you're cutting interviews or you're trying to mix together a soundtrack of various environmental noises, you may need these multiple layers of audio tracks in order to create the audio that goes along with your video footage. So this has been an introduction, very, very basic introduction to video editing. We will cover more in future videos for you and try to go more in depth, but hopefully you can get some great benefit from this short tutorial. Good luck getting started with Premiere Pro.